So my name is Shawn Miller, and I'm practicing in California, Southern California, Orange County. I decided in dental school I wanted to be an orthodontist. Going into dental school I wasn't really sure, but just working through the coursework, and I just became fascinated with it. Generally speaking, I like to solve puzzles and figure things out, and I kind of the whole treatment planning process of it kind of fascinated me. Every case is unique, every case is different, so it's just kind of cool. We get to fix things and figure things out and correct malocclusions. So. Yeah. Well, I'm certainly proud to be an orthodontist for sure. It's a great profession. It's filled with just, super smart people that are caring and just very impressive. It's a well-respected profession as it should be. Very honest, very ethical. And, we all like to treat staff and patients like family, which is kind of something that people toss around a lot, but it's true. We do really care for our patients and, it's just generally helping people out and making people's lives better. These days people want to get orthodontics, so it makes things easier. So, I enjoy giving people what they want. So, well, as far as society goes, I mean, frankly, a lot of what we do is cosmetic. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, we do correct a lot of malocclusions, which are transformative for people that have severe open bites and skeletal disformities and things like that. But a lot of what we do is just making people improve their self-confidence, give them nicer smiles, sometimes better bites. But yeah, I mean it's an important profession for sure. A lot of what we do is, especially these days, we help with airways, help with TMJ, things like that, which are important medically speaking, but um, is a nice profession to just help people feel better about themselves. So just something unusual is I don't have a bachelor's degree, which is interesting. So back in the day, you technically didn't need a bachelor's degree to go to dental school. So I uh, I know now there's like some 7-year programs and stuff where they combine them, but at the time that wasn't too popular, and I didn't have one, so I just kind of condensed my college into 3 years. I almost finished, but not quite. So anyway, so I got a doctorate from dental school, and then a master's degree from Harvard for my ortho program, but no bachelor's degree. So I, I don't have a bachelor's degree. So for me, for most of those orthodontists, I think it's open bites. Open bites are tough just because they relapse. Whether you do surgery or if you do anything, even tabs with intrusion, Invisalign braces doesn't seem to matter, even with myofunctional therapy and a lot of tongue training and things like that. Open bites tend to relapse, and it's frustrating because you spend a lot of time closing the open bites through whatever methodology you're using. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you finally get it closed and you kind of hold it closed. And there's no retainers that are great for holding open bites closed. So that's probably the toughest one just because it's prone to relapse. So when I was in residency, we just tabs were just starting to be new, and Invisalign was around, but it was just becoming really popular. So I got to train on both of those in residency. So tabs and Invisalign were huge when I was just starting out, and then as I've gotten into practice, probably the biggest thing is like scanners, iTero scanners, being able to scan, make your own retainers in-house, 3D print things. So all that technology is kind of the biggest change. So 10 years is probably going to be, AI. Where that's going, nobody really knows. But um, I'm sure AI is going to be a big part of like front desk operations, administrative operations, as far as writing letters, scheduling patients, maybe even taking phone calls. Um, and then as far as like treatment planning goes, a lot of what we do now with, at least for me, is a lot of digital. So it's ClinChecks, whether it's Invisalign or 3M or whatever company you use. I use a lot of Light Force, so the same thing, kind of light plans. So right now I do a lot of it myself, but I'm sure AI is going to get better and better and kind of take over a lot of the treatment planning and kind of setting up cases and things like that in the future. So I think there'll be always a role for orthodontists, of course, because we have to be their chair side and we have to help patients clinically. But yeah, I think it's gonna be different as far as what we do behind the scenes. A lot of it, as far as treatment planning goes. diagnosing, things like that with the help of AI. So through Dr. Kravitz. So Dr. Kravitz is a good friend of mine. We went to dental school together. We're in the same class. We lived down the hall from each other. So we became really great friends. And he was my best man at the wedding, and I was his best man at the wedding. So, and if anyone's met Dr. Kravitz, he's a very convincing person. It's hard to turn him down. When he said, when he asks you to do something, you always have to say yes, just because he's so giving. Whenever I always had issues or questions, or whether clinical or practice related or anything, he's always available. He's always quick to email me, quick to call me, discuss anything he wants. So when he asked me to help out with JCO, I said, yeah, for sure. I mean, how can I turn him down? So, and it's a great opportunity for me to stay relevant and stay on top of current clinical matters, and to stay just on top of everything that's new out there in the world. So, at first I started out on the editorial board, kind of reviewing papers, which is great. So I got to help find articles that were publishable, or decide which ones could be published, and kind of how to tweak them and improve ones that were in the process. So that was very enjoyable. Got to read about a lot of new techniques from all over the world, and submissions from everywhere, with a huge range of just clinical topics and clinical situations, which is really nice. And then when they started that new diagnostic section, I kind of volunteered to do that because I thought, kind of at this point, 15, 20 years in, I'm pretty good with diagnosis, treatment planning, and kind of have a kind of realistic viewpoint of what can be done, what's possible, what should be done. So that's been a really great feature. I hope readers enjoy it. But I've enjoyed, yeah, those cases that we get are really, really interesting. There's some just wild, crazy stuff that gets submitted, which is cool to see how people treat cases that you only see once or twice in a lifetime. But then also to see a lot of bread and butter orthodontics where um, one or two diagnostic factors kind of change the way you see a case. So it's important to realize those and pick up on those, and I hope the readers get that same impression when they read the cases. So I think it's the best clinical journal out there, really. I mean, I don't want to downplay any other journals, but they're like the AJODO it's hard to read sometimes. It's a lot of finite element analysis and this and that, and a lot of it's not clinically applicable. It's great for academics. It's great for students to read. And some of the articles are great for practicing clinicians, but a lot of it doesn't apply. So as far as JCO, I mean, cover to cover, it's great. I mean, you're going to get the diagnostic case, you're going to get a case study, you're going to get maybe something a little bit academic, a good editorial from Dr. Kravitz, maybe a practice management pearl, a little clinical pearl. I mean, so it's really great. And what Dr. Kravitz has done with the journal has been awesome, where he's done more, more social media stuff with the videos, and trying to get people to engage, where you can see ClinChecks and see clinical pearls and get little short videos from practicing clinicians on how they do things. So much easier than reading. I mean, reading an article on how to do a special tie or something is fine, but then to see a little video of the doctor doing it himself is really nice. So I mean, it's a great journal. I recommend it to everybody. I try to try to as much as I can get the word out there that people really should be subscribing to the JCO for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, JCO and AJDO or any of them are all peer reviewed. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is the peer review process. And now that I've been on the other side of the peer review process, I'd submitted articles in the past, but now that I'm actually editing articles and making suggestions and things like that, you see how much work goes into the peer review process, and how many steps are involved. So to get through an article published is it's a lot of work on everyone's end, the authors and then also on the journal's end, to make it publishable. So um, the issue with social media is there's just no there's no filter or peer review, and that's the problem. So 5, 10 years ago, I was kind of big on a lot of those Facebook groups and social media groups, and it was interesting to learn things and see cases and stuff. And but the last 5 years, I haven't done as much, just because I kind of didn't like where they were going. A lot of it became you'll see personal attacks, and you'll see people that post stuff that not that they're posting stuff that's false, but they're posting incomplete cases, I guess. They're posting some pictures before, some pictures after, some x-rays, some not x-rays. You won't see tracings, you won't see superimpositions, you won't see data, basically. People will show a nice before and after, but you don't know how they got there, and you don't know a lot of background. And um, it worries me a little bit because I know a lot of residents from there and stuff, and I worry that these residents see these cases and they see the before and after and they think, oh, that's something that I could do or something that's possible or something that's realistic. And sometimes it's not so realistic. So, um, yeah, you really have to be careful on the social media sites and kind of always take a step back and kind of really look at the cases closely. And um, sometimes you can post and ask for more information. Sometimes the whoever posted originally will respond, but sometimes they don't. So I don't know. I kind of got off the social media groups a little bit lately, but yeah. Pretty much. I mean, like every time I read a new a new monthly issue, I find something. I mean, usually at least one or two things every issue. I mean, what I like is it's a quick read. So I mean, I can sit down and you can do it over two or three different time periods if you want, but I would generally just carve out an hour, basically. In an hour, I can get through the whole issue in an hour, cover to cover, and kind of read all the articles that I'm interested in and read the summaries and abstracts and the clinical pearls. And sometimes you learn something just really small, something really tiny, and then sometimes it's something bigger, but there's always something you learn for sure getting through it because it's very relevant. Everything's, I've seen how Dr. Kravitz and the board does it. Everything is just uh, very modern, very new. We always looking for new articles, modern articles, things that haven't been published before. So everything's just very timely and very relevant to clinical practice currently. So that's what I like about it for sure. Well, it's such a great value. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive compared to going away for a CE course or something. I mean, you could buy 5 years subscription for the cost of going to a CE course. So, um, yeah, I mean, every month you're going to pick up one or two tidbits every month for sure of something important that you can kind of implement in your practice kind of right away or um, write it down for future to implement in 6 months or something like that. So, uh, really, I mean, for the cost and for the time commitment of just an hour a month of reading through it, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. So it's pretty easy to easy decision. So I guess maybe this is a tough one, maybe not popular, but probably to say no more often. So I think when I first graduated, I was wanting to please everybody, whether that's patients or referring doctors or referring specialists or staff. Um, you get into the profession and you're just out of school, you're fresh and you don't know everything. So you just want to say yes. So yeah, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can treat this case. Patients are looking for you to be their savior sometimes, and you don't know enough to know to say no. So as I've gotten older, I've learned to spot cases that are red flags and maybe people that have body dysmorphic disorder. Referring dentists are just unreasonable. Specialists that are referring that are just unreasonable. They don't really want to work with you. They want to just dictate your cases. Um, and then even staff sometimes try to take advantage of you, and you learn over time of you can still be fair to staff and obviously be fair and honest to patients. But sometimes you just have to say no and just say, I'm not willing to do that, or I'm not confident I can get the goal or achieve your goals, and I just have to pass. So, yeah. Practice orthodontist just probably just always be willing to change because the profession is changing quickly. And like I said before, I was just getting trained on TADS and kind of Invisalign when I was out of school, and then since coming out of school, scanners and 3D printers and light force braces, so 3D customization of braces. So the big thing is just always not to get stuck in your practice, and it's easy to do in solo practice sometimes when you're by yourself and you're practicing on an island a little bit. So just to continue to learn, continue to take CE courses, and then change is tough. The staff doesn't like the change. Change can be expensive with new equipment, things like that, but you have to, otherwise you get left behind. I mean, I can't imagine. taking, putty impressions at this point instead of scanning, and you know, uh, making our own retainers is just so convenient for patients. 3D printing things, and then Lightforce for me has been really efficient and changed kind of the way I practice. So um, all these things you have to just kind of be willing to adapt and learn, and just don't get stuck where you're at because it'll pass you by. Especially it's competitive. It's very competitive where I am and where a lot of people practice. So um, you don't have to necessarily be on the cutting edge with the best of everything brand new all the time. I usually, in my situation, I usually wait a year or two or to make sure something's really legitimate first, and it really takes hold of the industry first, and then I kind of jump on it. But so you don't have to be the first one to try everything, but you do have to switch once you realize something that is the future of the profession. So for residents, for me, it was just when you're in school, just do everything and go to everything and attend everything. So I know you don't have a lot of money and things like that, but we would just go to every CE course that was locally we could. Once in a while, we'd travel to CE courses like the AAO because it was free for residents. And then whenever companies would come in and give presentations, or Rocky Mountain or 3M, we just always make sure to go. Every day we had clinic and lectures, but there was always extra lectures we could go to at night, or just little seminars that professors would put on. Um, Sometimes professors would invite some residents to their house and just go over cases, go over surgical cases. They'd bring in a surgeon friend and we'd go over cases. So as a resident, I would just try to attend everything because you're just gonna soak up so much. It's just such a great time. You only have that 3 years or 2 years time period where you just have to learn as much as you can. So um, just yeah, it's a really unique environment. So just spend it as much of your time learning, basically. Yeah. I'm going to kind of just steal this one from a professor of mine. Dr. Charlie Ruff was a great professor at Harvard University when I was there teaching, and he would just always tell us and tell residents that basically adults are not big kids. That was his thing. So he'd say adults are not big kids, and what he meant was that adults are a whole different ballgame, a whole different animal. So you can't just see a case that you would treat this way in a child and then treat the same way in an adult because it's just totally different. So adults obviously have crowns and root canals and implant spaces, TMJ symptoms, periodontal issues, sometimes medical issues. They sometimes have more time constraints. There's just a lot of different factors. So, and then obviously they're not growing, so you can't do growth modification appliances, things like that. Um, so what he said was just, yeah, you see a simple little class 2 case on an adult, and it's not so simple. So on a kid it might be simple, but on an adult it's not. It's you got to watch for the periodontal issues. You got to watch for bone loss. You got to check things. You got to be just more detail oriented. You have to work with other specialists sometimes. It's always more complicated than you think it is. So that was his big advice, and I always try to keep that in mind when I see an adult walk in the door. So